Now, The Blitz. Dat Nguyen, Jason Minnix, San Antonio sports leader, 1250 ESPN San Antonio.
Charlie Strong is the new head coach at the University of Texas in Austin. It is The Blitz, 1250 ESPN San Antonio, along with Dat Nguyen. I'm Jason Minnix. We're reacting to the Texas hiring with you and with one of the biggest boosters from the University of Texas, Red McCombs, joining us courtesy of the Wilkes Air Conditioning and Heating Hotline. Find them at wilksair.com. Red McCombs, always appreciate the time, sir. Your reaction to Charlie Strong as the new head coach of the Texas Longhorns?
Well, thank you guys for having me on. I was a little bit stunned when Charlie was given that job. Then I was more stunned when I found out how much they were going to pay him, and then I saw how much that they were paying themselves, them being the two P's, Patterson and
Powers.
So I think the whole thing is just a little bit sideways. I don't have any doubt about what Charlie is a fine coach. I think he'd probably make a great position coach, maybe a coordinator, but I don't believe that. I don't believe that what should be one of the three most powerful university programs in the world, right at UT Austin, I don't think it adds up.
Mr. Combs, were you surprised that the timetable of hiring somebody, because Steve Patterson came out and said he wanted to get somebody in by the 15th of January? Were you surprised it was announced today or really the last couple of days?
Well, I was, because I had been talking to John Gruden at length any number of times, and we had planned to have our next long conversation on Monday, being today. And when we signed off from our conversation on Friday, I didn't know that they had done the deal and already ready to bury the bodies and go on to the next funeral. It didn't. I don't think that I have no problem with Charlie as a coach. I have no problem with Patterson and Powers, but I think they got ahead of themselves. Why? I don't know. There was no reason for it. I might even be the reason, because I was pushing them, and they both knew it. I was pushing them to spend some time with John Gruden. That never happened. I just personally think that John Gruden is by far the most effective football coach that is not coaching. And I was thinking that if we get John Gruden in there for 15 years, in that 15 years we'd get at least 5 national titles, and we would set records like we've never set before. Every kid that has hopes of playing in the NFL, like you did, Nat, and had a great career, would want to play for the guy if they had a chance to. So, at any rate, I don't. It's done. We do the best with it we can, but you look at each one of those guys knocking down $5 million a year for 5 years, and then of course there'll be some more added on to that. So you're talking about. Hell, we could have built a new Alamo.
Red McCombs with us here on 1250 ESPN San Antonio, and you were obviously ahead of this campaigning for a guy like John Gruden. We heard Nick Saban's name mentioned, then Jim Mora, then Art Briles, and by what you just told us, Red, they didn't consult with you over the weekend before they offered a job to Charlie Strong, and it seemed like that there was some consulting with some of the major boosters like yourself. As a booster, not to get word ahead of time or have your input listened to, does that change anything with you as far as you can?
I had to contact them. They didn't contact me.
Wow.
And I thought they would. Mm-hmm. I thought I would be asked to serve on the search committee, although I'm pretty well known for not believing much in search committees. But at any rate, it looked to me as if the way that they together and zipped it up. That they were in a hurry to get it done. There was no reason for it that I know of. And again, I don't want to take a thing away from Charlie Strong. He's obviously a good coach, and I think that was really, if I were using him, that's where I'd have him operating.
You know, Red, when you think about new athletic director Steve Patterson, and he's got to hit a home run with this hire, how much of this do you think he had to do this on his own and get the guy that he wanted without the influence from boosters and in other sources, just because if he's going to sink or swim with this hire, he wanted it to be his guy that can come in and change the culture there in Austin?
Well, I think it's a kick in the face. I think beyond the fact of what actually happened, I think when we've got boosters that have a lot of knowledge about the game. When we decided to go get Mac, from the time we decided to go get him in about 42, less than that, about 30 hours later, they had a press conference here, and he and Sally were here, and it was done, but we had a lot of input before we went after him. So I don't know what the big rush was. I was kind of pleased that Patterson had already said that he'd like to get it done about the middle of January, and that seemed logical to me. But at any rate, hey, I'm a team player. I'll support them all I can. I just think they went about it wrong, and I think they made the selection wrong.
This is the Blitz on 1250 ESPN San Antonio with Red McCombs. And Coach, and Mr. McCombs, have you talked to Coach Brown since his dismissal a couple weeks ago?
Well, Coach Brown is a class act. If there was a reason for him not to coach anymore, there was a way to do that other than the way they did it. I don't think we've heard the last chapter of that story yet.
You want to share any insight on that? I know you've got the pen.
No, I might have already said too much. Charlie is sitting here with a towel trying to stick it down my throat.
You know, Red, when you think about the direction, and one of the knocks on Mac Brown, and you know I'm a Longhorn fan, Red, but one of the knocks is that he coddled his players and there wasn't enough accountability. One thing with Charlie Strong is you expect that accountability and that toughness from the Texas Longhorn football program. How much do you think just the change in culture and that attitude went into the fact that Steve Patterson made the hire of Charlie Strong?
Well, look, you'd be the best to answer that. You've played at all levels, from grade school on up. You've had coaches that the difference between a pat on the back and a kick in the butt's only about 18 inches. You just have to know when to do which. And most coaches do a good job of that. We're fortunate. We have great coaches in the state of Texas. Mm-hmm. And I think something like what they did here is a little bit of a slam to our Texas coaches.
Have you reached out to Charlie Strong yet, and what will that conversation be like?
I had a little conversation with Charlie last night. The powers that be had him call me about 9:45, and I wished him well. And, of course, I wish him well. And I'll do anything I can to help make his program work. I have my own views about what should have happened. That didn't happen.
You know, I've read stories that you would talk with Mac Brown on a daily basis. One of the knocks, if you will, on Charlie Strong is he's a good football coach, but he's not great with the media, not great with boosters. Being a major booster like yourself, how important is it for you to have that kind of interaction with Charlie Strong moving forward?
Well, it's not so important that I have it. It's absolutely critical that the Longhorn Nation has it. That's how we built this. People have short memories. When Mac came here, we were putting about a third of the people in the stadium. The other two-thirds of the seats weren't being used, even though people would buy them and pay for them. But they weren't going to the games. And Mac said, come early, stay late, wear a burnt orange, orange and be loud. And people brought into it, people that I never had seen really get so involved as they did for that program. It was a powerful program because it worked, and the people loved it. Now, Charlie will have his own way of doing that. I don't buy this stuff that a guy is anti-fans, this, that, and all. I have owned teams to where the coach didn't want any interaction with the fans, but the fans were there for the long haul. The coach was there for a short haul if he was thinking like that.
The great Red McCombs here on 1250 ESPN San Antonio. Red, certainly appreciate the time. I know how busy your schedule is, and while I've got you, might as well promote you're going to be speaking at the San Antonio Sports and Business Alliance coming up next Tuesday, January 14th over at Kirby's. That should be a very interesting conversation because Charlie Strong will have been on campus for a little bit more than a week at that point.
Well, I'll pat him on the back and try to have him do all I can.
Good deal. Red McCombs, always appreciate it, sir. We'll catch up again soon.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Red McCombs on 1250 ESPN San Antonio.